A lot of eyes will be on that opening game, Clemson and LSU. Paul, so someone said Cade Klubnik is the better quarterback in that game. He's better than Garrett Nussmeier. Is that fact or fiction?
That is fact, and we're splitting hairs here because these are the two best quarterbacks in the country. Nussmeier is the son of a coach. He is well prepared, but I like Klubnik better in the clutch. I saw Nussmeier make too many mistakes under pressure, try to do way too much, and I know the panel there has seen this movie many times.
That's going to be a fascinating Week 1 game. Let's talk about Ohio State and Texas, another great one. Harry, if I said Ohio State is going to beat the Longhorns in Week 1, is that fact or fiction?
I'm going fiction. You look at that ferocious defense that Texas had last season, and they have major players coming back, starting with Anthony Hill Jr. at the linebacker position, Colin Simmons, Michael Taft, who was a preseason All-American. That defense for Texas will be great again for a second year in a row.
And then last one, I'm going to get to D. Wood on this one. If I said Bill Belichick is going to get Carolina to the college football playoff in his first year, is that fact or fiction?
No, that's fiction. I think it'll take an act of God for them to get to the college football playoff. Listen, I went down there and watched their spring practice, and listen, everyone knows the admiration I have for Coach Belichick, but they got some. Their roster needs a lot of work, and I know they've been in the transfer portal, but I just don't see in year one UNC being in contention for the college football playoff.
Well, there's all these stories out there about Belichick, all the attention that he's bringing, all the tickets that they've sold, all the television attention. They will open up their season against TCU on September 1st. No more training camp for Belichick as he now transitions to the world of college football. Paul, for the life of me, I can't make up my mind what to expect here. There's part of me that thinks Bill Belichick is going to walk in, he's coaching, he's going to be coaching circles around everybody, and he's just going to come out of this looking even more like a genius than he ever has. And then another part of me thinks he has no idea what he's getting into. College football is an entirely different world, and it's going to go completely in the opposite direction. What are your expectations for year one in Chapel Hill for Bill? Paul.
They are very low, Greeny, for this reason. He doesn't have a very good team, although he's in a workable league. I think he can win 7 games, maybe steal one to go 8. But ladies and gentlemen, this is not Deion Sanders coming back to college. For a couple of obvious reasons, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. He doesn't have anyone like that. Therefore, the eyes of the nation will be there on opening night, maybe a second or third time, but it's not going to be must-see TV. And as far as Bill Belichick, Greeny, you know the NFL better than me, but I can read. I followed his career. The end of his career was a disaster. He didn't win a playoff game in his last 5 seasons. He had losing seasons 3 out of the last 5. It was a mess at the end. He should have been fired earlier than he was. And this is just trying to make good. He's trying to impress his girlfriend. He's trying to make some money. And ultimately, I don't think it's going to work.
So I don't know what the expectation is. You know the college game way better than I do, Harry. You know the team, you know the schedule, all the rest of that. What is your expectation for Belichick in his first year?
Bowl game. You're only as good as your quarterback allows you to be, but also they have a boatload of transfers. You got to get all these guys to gel together for a common goal. And that's going to be difficult to do, in my opinion. So it's different from Bill Belichick, installing something in the meeting room in the National Football League and saying, hey, guys, I expect you to go out there and execute it. No, you got to have a lot more patience at the collegiate level because guys might not be able to grasp things as fast as the players that you coach in the National Football League. But, the quarterback situation for me, is it going to be Gio Lopez? Is it going to be Max Johnson? How are those guys? What kind of system are you running if you're Bill Belichick? All these things are questions for North Carolina football.
And he's someone you know well. Again, Mike T., you've worked for Bill literally decades and decades and know him well. What is at stake for him here? There are so many things about this that I can't wrap my head around. What is at stake for him, depending on how this turns out?
Yeah, the notion out there is, could this impact his legacy? We saw, the legendary Bill Walsh end his career at Stanford. That didn't go well. So there is some risk. But I think at his core, Coach Belichick, the guy I know, loves to coach football and develop young players. And I think he will exceed expectations, certainly in year one. I see it because of the schedule, much the way what Paul said about they could still maybe a 7th or 8th win. So is there a risk around, the legacy? Absolutely. But when you look at this schedule, look, TCU is going to be difficult. Obviously, Clemson. And, when you get to the end of the season, we'll see what NC State is. But there's a lot of winnable games here. Maybe they sneak into the ACC championship game. The fact that the bar is so low for the first time in his career, I think it's actually easy for him to exceed expectations.
Paul, is there anything at stake here in terms of legacy in your view?
There are some because it's already been diminished, Greeny. I don't need to repeat what I just got through saying. I mean, we all know he's won 6 Super Bowls, and it's the greatest NFL career of all time. But we often remember what you do last. And I mean, Willie Mays was my favorite player as a kid, but I remember him dropping a fly ball in the World Series. It happens, and I'm afraid for Bill Belichick, it's going to happen again.
That is interesting because, Mike T., you brought up the Bill Walsh at Stanford thing in our meeting this morning, and my first reaction was, oh, I had forgotten that even happened. You know, like I don't feel like that diminishes his legacy. I feel like Bill Walsh is remembered as one of the great offensive innovators and one of the greatest coaches in the history of the game. I feel like that was a short term, maybe, now that you say it, I remember it. So I think Belichick will be remembered for what he did in the pros, unless this thing is just an abject disaster. ACC Media Days wrapping up yesterday. So let's play a little game of sound off. Here's Michigan's coach, Sherrone Moore, channeling Mike Tomlin when talking about the adversity his team dealt with last year.
Roll by this theory, don't let a speed bump become a roadblock. Last year we hit a couple speed bumps, but we didn't allow those to become roadblocks. We overcame a lot of adversity and had a successful end to the year, but really we're not living on that.
Don't let a speed bump become a roadblock. I like that. We got Harry, we got Paul Finebaum back with us. What is this Michigan team last year? Was a step back from the national championship the year before. Paul, what does this coach have in store for this season?
I like what he said there, and it's hard to find a lot of criticism of a coach who ended the season beating your biggest rival and then beating Alabama in a bowl game with almost no starters as a double-digit favorite. So as a double-digit underdog. So Sherrone Moore is saying the right things. My question is, does he have the right stuff as a head coach? He did a nice job filling in for Jim Harbaugh during all the controversy, but he didn't show anyone that much last year other than at the very end. He's got to be more consistent. He does have only the best quarterback coming into college football this year in Bryce Underwood. How long will Bryce Underwood take to matriculate? And he can get him going quickly. They have a chance for a CFP bid, but I don't think they're going to make it. I think they'll fall just short.
Ohio State is the defending champ. Everyone's in love with Penn State. Harry, how good is Michigan this year?
Well, Michigan, they're going to be better because the speed bump in 2024 was the quarterback position.
Right.
I do believe there's 3 games that I have circled. It's the Oklahoma game, and they go to Oklahoma. It's the Nebraska game, and it's the Ohio State game. If they can go 2-1 in those games, in those 3 games that I just mentioned, they have an opportunity to make the college football playoffs because their schedule isn't hard.
They just keep beating Ohio State every year, no matter what happens. We'll see if that continues. There's one other I want to play for you here. So earlier this morning, Paul said Cade Klubnik is the best quarterback in college football at Clemson. Yesterday, what I thought was a very open moment, he talked about an experience he had when his coach, Dabo Swinney, stuck by him when the going was tough. Listen.
After my sophomore year, when everybody kind of told me I sucked and wasn't very good, and a lot of people wanted me out of Clemson. And Coach Swinney pulled me into his office and told me, Cade, I believe in you, and let's go to work. When he could have gone and done what a lot of other coaches would do, but didn't, and pulled me in tight and said, I believe in you. I'll never forget that moment.
You know, I thought that was important. In a world of college football now where there is almost no allegiance, it's not rewarded in any way, really, from coaches towards players or players towards coaches. And look, Dabo Swinney and I have not always seen eye to eye on a lot of things, Paul, and there's been reason for criticism of him in the past, I believe. But this really jumped off the page at me. I thought this was a really important statement that his quarterback made.
I think it was amazing. And Greeny, I don't think I need to remind you how many times I've been here talking about how Dabo's dynasty is done, maybe 5 or 6. But what Dabo Swinney has done, he has transformed with where we are in college football. And at the core, he is a player's coach. His players love him. And that moment that we heard yesterday in Charlotte was significant. And it may be the fuel that helps Clemson come back from where they have been to possibly playing for a national championship. And that's the reason, the coach and the player relationship, and Dabo has it with many others as well.
Quickly, for the fans who don't know, how good is this kid, Cade Klubnik, Harry?
He's a dual-threat quarterback, and I thought he made tremendous strides last season, really grasping Garrett Riley, who's the little brother of Lincoln Riley, his offense. This is a guy who has an opportunity this year, if he is on the right track from start to finish, he will be up for a Heisman.
Clemson found a way into the playoff last year. We'll see what they're able to do this coming season. We've got Little League Softball World Series Regional Championships coming today, following us on ESPN.